We just think of ninjas as the people that are just terribly out of control, bad behavior everywhere, not polite, unattractive, overweight, all of that. No. It's the ninja enablers, the creator of ninjas, who are the real threat. So here's Napheesa Collier. The Minnesota Lynx are about to play a home game 2 days before the anniversary of St. George Floyd dying over a fentanyl overdose while face down with Derek Chauvin's knee on his back and neck. She is celebrating and honoring St. George Floyd. 9 times arrested, armed robbery, using a gun on a pregnant woman, high on fentanyl, passing counterfeit $20 bills. The year before the death of St. George Floyd, he nearly died of a drug overdose while being arrested by police just a year before in Minneapolis. But as we all know, on May 25th, 2020, St. George Floyd went off to heaven. And now is just a martyr and a symbol of Black American excellence. No one Black has ever died in a more spectacular, courageous fashion than St. George Floyd, when he couldn't breathe because he had swallowed enough fentanyl to kill Secretariat and Seabiscuit. But here's Napheesa Collier celebrating St. George Floyd on this past Friday, going into Memorial Day weekend. Just think of all the people that have passed away in Minneapolis on May 25th, but the person to honor and call for a moment of silence and to be recognized is the great St. George Floyd, who died in the most heroic and courageous fashion, fighting for the right to pass counterfeit $20 bills and to swallow as much fentanyl as Secretariat and Seabiscuit. Anyway, play Napheesa Collier celebrating St. George Floyd.
Thank you guys for taking a minute to honor the life of George Floyd. George was a father, a brother, and a son. And his life, like every life, held meaning. His death exposed the holes that are still in our justice and criminal institutions today. And his 5-year anniversary reminds us that we must continue the fight against criminal, racial, and social injustices. We cannot stay silent. Every life deserves respect and dignity. Thank you.
Every life except for that child in the womb. That life does not deserve respect and dignity. That life can be eviscerated at a woman's whim. But I digress. I don't want to go off on a tangent here. Let me stay on point here. The problem the WNBA has with Caitlin Clark and why they're going to celebrate this 2-week absence and they're going to try to prove that the WNBA is more than Caitlin Clark is because Caitlin Clark has invited a group of fans that don't think what Napheesa Collier just did there is normal. They don't think it's appropriate. They think it's insane. And the WNBA players, because Caitlin Clark has brought fans like me, fans like you to the table, is that they are now on social media, and when they do this kind of insanity, like Napheesa Collier just did, now on social media, because we follow the WNBA now, either passionately or passively, Napheesa Collier hears from people like me over social media that say, what in the hell are you doing celebrating St. George Floyd? What are you talking about? You're celebrating his death because his death exposed X, Y, and Z. You're treating George Floyd and honoring him like he's Jesus, like his blood offers us salvation and grace. And so people like me who don't like idolatry, people that think that hey man, I think we can do better than honoring, building statues, having remembrances for longtime drug addicts, longtime criminals. Like, there's a bunch of people from Minneapolis. Over the course of the history of Minneapolis, there has to be 1 million people that died on May 25th. And George Floyd is the one we honor. And so it's the conversation is people like me in the arena or in the conversation that are commenting on the WNBA. They want that to go away. They existed in a bubble where everybody that came to their games and everybody that paid attention to their games thought exactly like them. And so there would be virtually no pushback. Napheesa Collier could go out and say the most insane things, and no one would care. No one would bat an eye because they all virtually agreed. And people like me that didn't watch the WNBA, we may hear about it, but we'd be like, well, I don't watch the WNBA. And so I couldn't care less that those women are insane, and let them and their 200 or 300 fans have that. If they want to do celebrations for George Floyd and have moments of silence, and everybody wants to evacuate, as soon as the national anthem is played, I didn't care because I wasn't watching. I had no interest in the league. And so Napheesa Collier, Asia Wilson, Dejanay Carrington, all the rest, they want me to disappear. They want you to disappear. And they know the way to get us to disappear is by disappearing Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark for the next 2 weeks won't be playing in the WNBA. And most of us won't be watching the WNBA. I'm going to admit I'm still going to watch the Indiana Fever. I have that much of a WNBA sickness. Caitlin Clark has made me care greatly about Aaliyah Boston, has made me care greatly about Kelsey Mitchell. I certainly care a lot about Sophie Cunningham. I've copped to that. So I'm into the Indiana Fever in a sick way. I've got an illness. I like I'm from Indianapolis. I like the Indiana Fever. But the overwhelming majority of you, without Caitlin Clark, are going to disappear from the WNBA and just wait for Caitlin Clark to come back. And they're going to be happy because no one will be tweeting at them about the insanity of the things they do. If Angel Reese wants to throw up 30 bricks from 2 feet, less people will be talking about it because less people will be paying attention to the WNBA. They can go back to complaining about their pay, complaining about the patriarchy, complaining about white people. They can go back to doing what they do without any pushback from us. They don't hate Caitlin Clark. They hate her fans. They hate our values. They want to live in a bubble where they can do all their insane things without any pushback. Someone tweeted at me this weekend. Again, I've got this sickness. I pay attention to the WNBA, and I was watching the LA Sparks and Chicago Sky mostly so I could watch Angel Reese miss layups and just she's chosen to be the rival of Caitlin Clark, so I root against the Chicago Sky. I'm hoping they go 0-44 or 0-45, how many ever games they're playing this year. I hope they lose them all. They're off to a great start. They're 0-3. They got the worst point differential in the NBA. Angel Reese has the worst plus-minus in the WNBA. I'm enjoying this. But someone that went to the game tweeted at me, took my daughter to an LA Sparks game yesterday, Memorial Day weekend, and not one mention of Memorial Day. Chicago Sky disappeared for the national anthem like it was a fire drill. But hey, we did get a firm reminder that hate speech won't be tolerated. Phew. Would have hated to accidentally respect the country that lets them play basketball for a living. Truly inspiring stuff from the WNBA. That's what they hate. That's a new fan that came to the WNBA because of Caitlin Clark and now is going to games and taking his daughter to games, and he's getting a taste of the atmosphere, and he doesn't like it. He's objecting to it. And that is a problem for WNBA players. It had been a little BLM rally, a small one inside these arenas, but it had been a BLM rally where everybody was comfortable, everybody was aligned perfectly in values. They all support the alphabet mafia. They all support disrespect of America. Most of them don't stand for the national anthem. It's all one big happy family. Like what you saw? Hit that like button, subscribe, and check out the full episode by clicking the link below.